The sound of shattering glass sliced through the night like a blade. Helena Hargrove froze, her heart hammering against her ribs as the jagged noise echoed across the luxury villa. One moment, she had been adjusting the flowers on the dining table, preparing a surprise for Adrian. The next, paradise had shattered. Footsteps, heavy, deliberate, moving through the darkness toward her. "Adrian?" she called, her voice barely a whisper. But she knew. This wasn't Adrian. The figure emerged from the shadows, moonlight reflecting off something metallic in his hand. A face she recognized instantly, the face she had fled from, divorced, escaped. "Carter, did you really think you could start over?" he asked, his voice cold and hollow. "That you could just replace me?" The blow came swift and brutal. Helena's scream tore through the tropical night as blood spattered across the pristine white walls of what should have been her sanctuary. The last sound she heard was the rhythmic crash of waves on the shore, indifferent to the horror unfolding within their reach. Have you ever felt like you couldn't truly escape your past, no matter how far you ran? That some shadows follow you, waiting for the perfect moment to overtake you? If this story already has you on edge, hit that like button and subscribe to True Crime Village for more chilling true stories that remind us how fragile safety can be. Your support helps us bring these crucial warnings to light. What happened to Helena Hargrove wasn't random. It wasn't bad luck. It was calculated, patient, and born from a possessiveness that refused to accept rejection. This is the story of how a dream vacation became a nightmare that would end in blood. A warning of how the most beautiful destinations can become the deadliest crime scenes when obsession takes control. Helena Hargrove had once believed in fairy tales. The daughter of a small-town librarian, she grew up surrounded by stories of love conquering all. Then she met Carter Reed, charismatic, successful, and attentive. Their whirlwind romance culminated in a wedding that made local headlines. But the flowers had barely wilted when the mask began to slip. "Where were you?" became Carter's daily greeting. "Who were you with?" his goodnight kiss. Phone checks evolved into tracking apps. Friends disappeared from Helena's life one by one, deemed bad influences by a husband whose jealousy burned like acid. "I'm protecting you," he would insist, hands gripping her shoulders too tightly. "Everything I do is because I love you." The control tightened like a noose. Helena's clothing choices, social media posts, even grocery shopping, all fell under Carter's scrutiny. When she finally gathered courage to speak about divorce, his rage erupted in smashed plates and punched walls. "You belong to me," he hissed. "No court paper changes that." The legal battle dragged for 11 brutal months. Carter contested everything, delayed hearings, and, coincidentally, appeared wherever Helena went. The restraining order might as well have been written on tissue paper. Freedom, when it finally came, felt hollow. Helena moved 3 towns away, changed her number, and spent 6 months jumping at shadows before accepting a dinner invitation from a colleague. Adrian Mercer never pushed, never demanded access to her phone, never questioned her whereabouts. Their relationship developed with the gentle patience of someone tending to something fragile and precious. His psychology background gave him insight into trauma's lingering effects, but it was his natural kindness that helped heal Helena's deepest wounds. "I want to take you somewhere," Adrian suggested on their 1-year anniversary. "Somewhere he's never been, where you can feel completely free. Isla Sereno, a private Caribbean paradise accessible only by seaplane. Exclusive villas nestled among palm trees, with no crowds or prying eyes. Just crystalline waters, soft sand, and the promise of peace." Helena spent evenings researching the resort, fingers trembling with excitement as she scrolled through images of infinity pools melting into ocean horizons. Adrian arranged for a villa with floor-to-ceiling windows and private beach access. They would swim with sea turtles, dine under the stars, sleep with the sound of waves as their lullaby. "This is where we begin again," Adrian promised as they packed swimsuits and summer clothes. Helena believed him, allowing hope to bloom fully for the first time in years. But some people refused to let go, and for Carter Reed, if he couldn't have Helena, no one would. Isla Sereno rose from azure waters like a dream, 20 acres of lush vegetation, pristine beaches, and exclusive luxury. No roads connected it to civilization. The only access came via seaplane or private boat. With just 12 villas scattered across the island, privacy wasn't an amenity, it was a guarantee. The seaplane descended toward crystal waters, giving Helena and Adrian their first glimpse of their sanctuary. Palm trees swayed in gentle breezes, white sand gleamed in sunlight, and the modern glass-walled villas nestled discreetly among tropical foliage. "It's even more beautiful than the photos," Helena whispered as they touched down on the water's surface. Their villa, aptly named Tranquility, featured an open-concept design where living space flowed seamlessly onto a private deck. Floor-to-ceiling windows transformed walls into frames for the breathtaking ocean panorama. A private path led directly to their secluded beach cove. That first day unfolded like a gift slowly unwrapped. They swam in waters so clear they could count colorful fish darting between their legs. Sun-warmed skin, salt-kissed lips, and laughter that echoed across empty beaches. Helena felt lighter with each passing hour. "I feel like I can breathe again," she told Adrian as they sipped champagne on their deck, watching the sunset paint the sky in fiery oranges and soft pinks. Later, under a canopy of stars, they spoke of tomorrow and next month and next year. Adrian mentioned potential job opportunities in the Pacific Northwest, far from the East Coast memories that still haunted Helena. She imagined rain-washed landscapes and dense forests where they could build something new together. "I think I'd like that," she said, head resting on his shoulder. A fresh start. A staff member approached with fresh towels, momentarily glancing at Helena with an odd expression before continuing his rounds. In the villa's reflection on the infinity pool, a shadow seemed to move independently of any object. The connection on Helena's phone dropped 3 times despite the resort's promised excellent coverage. Small discrepancies, tiny ripples in perfect calm. Have you ever felt that perfect moment of peace, only to have it shattered by an inexplicable feeling of dread? That instant when happiness feels suddenly fragile, like glass balanced on the edge of a table? Helena woke at dawn on their second morning, heart racing without reason. The gentle sunrise bathed their room in soft gold light, but an invisible weight pressed against her chest. "What's wrong?" Adrian asked, noticing her rigid posture as she stared out at the peaceful ocean. "Nothing," she replied automatically. "Just nothing." Breakfast arrived on their deck, fresh fruit, local pastries, coffee in delicate porcelain cups. Helena picked at her food, eyes constantly scanning the tree lanes surrounding their villa. Adrian chalked it up to lingering travel fatigue and suggested a massage at the resort spa. "You go," Helena insisted. "I want to finish my book." The partial lie slipped out easily. A defense mechanism developed during years with Carter, when expressing true feelings often triggered confrontation. Alone in the villa, Helena paced. Each creak of the floorboards, each rustle of palm fronds, each distant voice from resort staff registered like alarm bells. She checked her phone, no missed calls, no unfamiliar texts. Yet her shoulders remained tense, her breathing shallow. She decided to change for a swim, hoping the ocean would wash away her anxiety. That's when she spotted it. A cream-colored envelope on the bathroom counter. Her name written in precise, familiar handwriting. With trembling fingers, she opened it. Inside, a single line. "Your escape ends where you begin." The bathroom tiles seemed to tilt beneath her feet. Carter could only be Carter. But how? They had told no one where they were going. Their social media remained dormant for security. When Adrian returned, Helena thrust the note into his hands. "This has to be a mistake," he said, studying the paper. "Maybe it's the resort's way of saying our vacation eventually ends where it started, at the seaplane dock?" "You don't understand," Helena whispered. "That's his handwriting. Those are the exact words he said when I left him." Adrian's expression shifted from concern to protectiveness. "That's impossible. This is an exclusive resort with top security. He couldn't know we're here." But Helena remembered how Carter had once accessed her email and canceled a job interview without her knowledge. how he'd installed tracking software on her laptop, how he'd befriended her dentist's receptionist to monitor her appointments. No normal boundaries exist for him, she explained, voice hollow with memory. He once told me he'd always find me, no matter where I went. Adrian called resort security, who promised to review surveillance footage and increase patrols. Their reassurances fell flat against Helena's certainty. Comment below if you've ever experienced that gut feeling that something wasn't right, that instinct warning you of danger before any logical evidence appeared. Your stories might help others recognize these crucial warning signs. Carter Reed sat in his darkened home office, illuminated only by the glow of multiple computer screens. 6 months had passed since the divorce, but in his mind, Helena remained his wife. The legal documents meant nothing, merely paper and ink, not the dissolution of his claim. The monitors displayed various windows: Helena's email account, which he accessed through a keylogger installed during their marriage, her credit card statements, showing recent purchases at swimwear shops and travel accessories, and a GPS tracker that had once been hidden in her car but now showed a fixed location at long-term airport parking. Carter didn't view this as invasion. In his mind, he was protecting what belonged to him. The progression of his fixation had been gradual. Initially, after the separation, he believed Helena would return once she learned her lesson. When weeks stretched into months, disbelief transformed into rage, then calcified into cold determination. His psychologist had noted concerning attachment issues before Carter abruptly ended their sessions. He discovered Adrian through Helena's work emails, first spotting his name in group correspondence, then noticing the increasing frequency of their communications. Carter created fake social media profiles to monitor them both, cataloging every interaction, every restaurant visit, every weekend trip. "She's confused," he muttered to himself, fingers clicking through photographs. "He's manipulating her." The discovery of their island getaway came through meticulous investigation. Carter had planted software on Helena's laptop that forwarded all booking confirmations and itineraries directly to him. The moment her Isla Sereno reservation appeared, he began formulating his plan. 5 weeks of preparation followed. Carter withdrew cash in small amounts to avoid financial flags. He purchased a high-quality fake passport. He researched the resort layout using architectural reviews and tourist photos. Most critically, he contacted local staff through private messages, posing as a man planning a surprise anniversary for his wife. "I'll pay triple your monthly salary," he wrote to a maintenance worker. "All you need to do is deliver a note and provide me access for one night." In Carter's distorted reality, he wasn't plotting harm. He was reclaiming what was rightfully his. He convinced himself that Helena would thank him once Adrian was removed from the equation. They would reconcile on the island, rebuild their connection amid tropical beauty. Her resistance would melt away once she understood the depths of his devotion. "True love requires sacrifice," he told his reflection as he packed a black duffel bag with gloves, rope, and a hunting knife. "I'm simply proving mine." Each night, Carter rehearsed his movements through a digital 3D model of the villa. Each morning, he studied the resort security protocols, identifying blind spots. His background in cybersecurity made disabling their alarm systems straightforward. His military training ensured physical efficiency. Not once did he question his course. Not once did guilt emerge. In his mind, he was simply correcting an injustice, retrieving stolen property. Helena's happiness, her autonomy, her right to choose, these concepts held no meaning against his conviction of ownership. While Helena was planning her future, Carter was planning her end. The evening began with deceptive calm. Helena and Adrian dined at the resort's beachfront restaurant, candles flickering as waves lapped gently at the shore. Despite security's assurances that the property remained secure, Helena picked at her seafood, jumping at each snapping twig and rustling leaf. "Maybe we should leave tomorrow," Adrian suggested, reaching for her hand across the table. Helena nodded, relief flooding her features. "I feel like we're being watched." Little did they know that eyes indeed tracked their movements from the dense vegetation beyond the restaurant's perimeter lights. Carter Reed, dressed in resort staff attire stolen from the laundry facility, observed their every gesture through high-powered binoculars. By 10:30 p.m., the couple returned to their villa. Security guards patrolled nearby, their flashlights cutting through darkness at scheduled intervals. Every 15 minutes, precisely as Carter had mapped. He counted seconds, waiting for the perfect window. Inside, Helena showered while Adrian opened a bottle of wine. The night air felt heavy, charged with approaching rain. Thunder rumbled in the distance, masking the sound of the back door lock being bypassed with an electronic device Carter had programmed specifically for this purpose. At 11:08 p.m., Helena emerged from the bathroom in her robe, hair damp around her shoulders. Adrian handed her a glass of red wine. They moved to the sofa, backs to the kitchen area where a shadow now detached itself from the darkness. "I was thinking," Adrian began, "when we get home, maybe we should look into—" Glass shattered as Carter smashed a heavy paperweight into the back of Adrian's skull. Helena's scream cut through the room as Adrian collapsed, blood immediately pooling on the white sofa cushions. "Hello, darling," Carter said, voice unnervingly calm. "Missed me?" Helena lunged for the door, but Carter intercepted her with practiced efficiency. One hand clamped over her mouth while the other pressed a knife against her throat. "I watched you with him," he whispered, breath hot against her ear. "Every smile, every touch, every kiss that belonged to me." Helena fought with desperate strength, clawing at his arms, kicking backwards. She connected with his shin, momentarily breaking his grip. Her dash for freedom lasted 3 steps before Carter tackled her to the floor. The struggle knocked over a lamp, sending the room into shadow broken only by flashes of lightning outside. Helena's hand found a broken wine glass, which she drove into Carter's shoulder with all her might. He howled in pain but didn't release her. Instead, his rage intensified. The knife rose and fell in rhythmic, terrible motions, each impact punctuated by his words, "Mine. You are mine." From the sofa, Adrian stirred. Despite his devastating head wound, he dragged himself toward the struggle, blood streaming down his face. His fingers closed around the fallen paperweight. With a final surge of energy, Adrian swung, connecting with Carter's temple. The blow staggered but didn't stop him. Carter whirled, knife slashing across Adrian's chest in a decisive strike that sent him crumpling to the floor. Turning back to Helena, Carter's expression softened with disturbing tenderness. "Now it's just us again." Her final moments played out against the backdrop of thunder and rain. As life drained from her body, Carter deliberately placed his wedding ring in her palm, closing her fingers around it. He arranged her hair the way he preferred it, wiped blood from her cheek with his handkerchief, and kissed her cooling forehead. Before departing, he left a custom-made medallion, bearing their wedding date, on the coffee table, positioned to be immediately visible to investigators. What would you do if you found yourself trapped in paradise with a killer who knew your every move before you made it? Dawn broke over Isla Sereno as police boats cut through calm waters toward the resort. The island's isolation, once its selling point, now complicated matters for the responding officers. No road access meant evidence could wash away with tropical rains before forensic teams arrived. "We've never had a homicide here," the resort manager explained, visibly shaken. "Our security systems." But those systems had failed catastrophically. Initial sweeps revealed disabled cameras at key access points and corrupted footage from the hours surrounding the murder. Local police, accustomed to petty theft and tourist mishaps, found themselves confronting a crime scene of methodical brutality. Adrian, miraculously alive but critical, could only provide fragments before losing consciousness en route to the mainland hospital. Carter, he found us, knew our villa. The medallion left at the scene became the investigation's first solid lead. Custom-made, it bore an inscription linking directly to Carter and Helena's wedding date. When analyzed, it revealed microscopic traces of skin cells from frequent handling, DNA that matched samples from Helena's former home. The resort's digital systems yielded crucial information despite attempted deletions. Guest logs showed no Carter Reed checking in, but IP addresses accessing the resort's booking platform matched Carter's home network. Email exchanges between Carter and a maintenance worker named Miguel Diaz revealed payments for inside information about Helena's stay. He said it was a surprise for his wife, Diaz confessed when confronted. He paid me to deliver a note and tell him which villa they were in. 3 separate guests reported seeing a man matching Carter's description in staff clothing. One couple described him watching Helena and Adrian's villa through binoculars. A bartender recalled serving a man who asked pointed questions about the couple's dining habits while showing their photo. Financial records unraveled Carter's preparation. Purchases of technical equipment capable of bypassing security systems. Cash withdrawals totaling exactly the amount paid to Diaz. A seaplane charter from a private company operating outside the resort's official transport partners. The resort's cleaning staff provided the most chilling testimony. He asked me what time I serviced their villa, housekeeper Maria Ortiz stated. He wanted to know the layout where the bedroom was where they kept their belongings. He had a resort badge, so I didn't question it. Most damning was the electronic trail. Despite using secure channels, Carter's obsessive monitoring of Helena left digital fingerprints across multiple platforms. His hacking attempts, while sophisticated, created logs that cybersecurity experts quickly traced. But Carter made one fatal mistake that would seal his fate. Carter Reed's fatal mistake was his arrogance. Convinced of his own brilliance, he kept a detailed journal on his laptop documenting every step of his plan to reclaim Helena. When authorities traced his digital footprint back to his home, they discovered this journal. A prosecutor's dream and a defense attorney's nightmare. They arrested Carter at his workplace 3 days after the murder. Security cameras captured him walking calmly past colleagues, hands folded behind his back as officers escorted him through the building. His expression revealed no remorse, only mild annoyance at the interruption. "She was my wife," he stated during initial questioning. "You can't steal what already belongs to you." The trial lasted 6 weeks. Prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence. The digital trail, witness testimonies, DNA matches, and Carter's own incriminating writings. His defense attempted an insanity plea, arguing that divorce-induced trauma had triggered a psychotic break. Psychiatric evaluations dismissed this claim, finding Carter fully aware of his actions and their consequences. The jury deliberated for just 4 hours before returning with a guilty verdict on all counts: first-degree murder, attempted murder, breaking and entering, and stalking. The judge sentenced Carter to life without possibility of parole, noting the extraordinary calculation and cold-blooded nature of his crimes. For Adrian Mercer, justice provided little comfort. He survived his injuries but faced months of physical rehabilitation and psychological therapy. Nightmares plagued his sleep. Survivor's guilt haunted his waking hours. "I promised to protect her," he told Helena's parents at the funeral. "I failed." Helena's family established the Helena Hargrove Foundation, dedicated to helping domestic violence survivors safely escape their abusers. Their first initiative funded secure transportation and temporary housing for women leaving dangerous relationships. Resources that might have saved Helena had they existed when she first fled from Carter. The case generated national headlines, prompting conversations about the inadequacy of restraining orders and the dangers that persist after legal separation. Domestic violence hotlines reported increased calls, with many callers citing Helena's story as their wake-up call. Law enforcement agencies across the country implemented new training protocols focused on recognizing and addressing stalking behaviors before they escalate to violence. Several states revised their laws to include digital surveillance as an actionable form of stalking. Resort security companies developed enhanced protection measures for victims of domestic abuse, including anonymous booking options and specialized staff training to recognize potential threats. If this story moved you, please share it to raise awareness about the dangers of obsession and domestic abuse. Your single share could reach someone trapped in a situation like Helena's, showing them the warning signs and potentially saving their life. Domestic violence thrives in silence. Breaking that silence is our most powerful weapon against it. Helena Hargrove's story reshaped how we understand the aftermath of abusive relationships. Her case highlighted critical gaps in victim protection, particularly how legal separation often marks the beginning, not the end, of danger. Many domestic violence organizations now cite the Helena Protocol when discussing post-relationship safety planning. 5 states have since passed Helena's Law, legislation that creates stricter penalties for digital stalking and mandates comprehensive risk assessments when abuse victims report concerns. Police departments nationwide instituted specialized training focused on recognizing obsessive behaviors that precede violence. Technology companies developed new privacy tools specifically designed to help abuse survivors detect and remove tracking software, tools that might have revealed Carter's surveillance earlier. Vacation resorts implemented verification systems that prevent unauthorized access to booking information. For those who knew Helena personally, her memory lives on through quiet acts of vigilance. Her former co-workers established a scholarship for psychology students focusing on trauma recovery. Her parents volunteer at crisis centers, sharing their daughter's story as both warning and call to action. Adrian eventually became an advocate for survivor support groups, speaking openly about his experience to help others process similar trauma. Helena was brilliant and kind. He often begins his talks. She deserves to be remembered for how she lived, not just how she died. Perhaps Helena's most meaningful legacy is the countless invisible lives saved by her story. People who recognized warning signs and sought help before it was too late. Subscribe to True Crime Village for more stories that not only captivate but also educate and potentially save lives. Every view, share, and subscription helps us continue bringing these crucial narratives to light, because understanding the darkness is often our best protection against it.